Night Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, René Barnett.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Night Vision. Good to be back. I've been on hiatus for a while, if anybody noticed. I've been watching some reruns here, I guess. But I'm back, and I have a really great show planned for tonight. I'm very excited. And I have been very, very busy. Many of you know that I am opening a center, a research and tour center in Cuisa, France, imminently. Hopefully, I'm looking to do our grand opening in late September if the renovations are all done. It's being all put together now. I'm really excited about it. And one of our very first guest speakers there at La Confluence is my guest tonight. So you'll get a little sneak preview of my guest that will be working with us in October at La Confluence, and that is our center name. And I chose the name Confluence because the house sits right at the confluence of two rivers, the Aude and the Salles, and that is supposed to be a very powerful situation and create a lot of powerful energy. They say that if you sleep or meditate at the confluence of a river, that you get visions and dreams and information that you might not get at another location. So I was thinking about the idea of confluence, and what happens is, two rivers join together and they make a more powerful, bigger body of water. And so I was thinking about the idea of a confluence of ideas and a confluence of people. And that's what we're working for. Jill Bladen and I are already booking lots of tours and lots of guest speakers and retreats and things like that in the region. So if you get a chance, look up La Confluence on Facebook, and we do have a new website called laconfluence.net, but right now it's just a landing page with a little bit of information, but that's quickly being built. So I hope you will check it out and see it when it finally launches. We're really excited about it, but just look up La Confluence, and I'll put it on the screen so you can see the spelling, but on Facebook. And you will see. So also, you can look for this symbol on the Facebook page. And when you see that, you'll know you've reached the right page on Facebook. We post 2 or 3 times a week, at least, on our Facebook page, show the progress of the renovations at the center, what we're putting in. And then we also talk about who's going to be coming. And pretty soon we'll have a full calendar that we'll be posting on the website, so you can always keep on top of what we might be up to over there. But anyhow, without further ado, a nice French word, I'm going to bring on a nice French guy from Portugal. And his name is Nathe, and he is from the Third Wish YouTube channel. Hi, Nathe.
Hi, René. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you for coming. It's a pleasure. I watch you all the time. I just saw your show with Linda G. Good old Oklahoma girl like me. Linda G's from Oklahoma. And she's a Native American, of course. It's like everybody, seems like that's Native American passes through or out of Oklahoma somehow. But anyhow, that was really interesting. And that was a good one. And I saw you the other night with, oh no, don't let me, the astrologer.
Andre.
Ray
yes. Carr. Yes.
Yeah, that was really good as well. He's a sweetie, he's just so even keeled all the
Yes,
time.
yes. And it's from Spain, so another European.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yes,
I
yes.
wondered where he was from. He
Hmm.
always has those wild, tropical backgrounds behind me on my green screen, but it's very good. But, I was thinking about because you do tarot, but you're also psychic, right?
I actually use different card systems. Yes, all the different cards. Some of them are French, some of them are more global, like tarot, that most of people know. I actually also do use different types of divination systems. I did a presentation the other day on tea leaves, coffee leaves, coffee grounds, and tea leaves. I'm using methods of scrying. I actually very passionate about different types of divination systems because I think this is really really fun to look at all the different systems, different cultures, different areas of the world. This is divination is so old, right? This
Right.
is this is like as old as humans have been
This
on this
time,
planet. And so, yeah, I do use tools, but I mean, obviously, I think pretty much anyone who use those tools also use their psychic abilities. To me, it's hand in hand. You use the tool and you use your intuition and you connect and you get information. That's really how
yeah,
it works. You can get information without tools. You can get information from tools with no psychic information, and you can have both joints. It's
yeah,
really a combination of. I feel like the tools such as cards are there to help you connect because they show you symbols. So I'm all
let's
about
say,
using
let's say
symbology.
you're
Yes.
going to see how some business venture is going to turn out, and you're going along, and you start seeing kind of troubling stuff that looks like might be coming down the way, and then you get the tower card, and when you see that in the imagery, do you also feel something, or
Well,
just a thought comes in your mind that
mhm. Well, a lot of people, I think, if they're not super familiar with tarot, would have developed maybe a negative impression of the tower. But you have to believe that every card has pros and cons.
yes,
And so the tower, a lot of people feel like it's negative. Not necessarily.
no, yeah,
It could be a release. It could be a freedom. It could be if you suddenly fall in love with someone, this is a tower time because it's a shock, right? So
you
it's not
felt,
necessarily, yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Such as, for example, on the opposite, the sun. A lot of people would say, oh, the sun, it's always positive. Well, the sun can burn. So you have to always look at the cards considering an energy and what the other cards say and what your intuition says. So just seeing a tower card alone doesn't tell me anything.
I see, okay.
Yes. No. I would need more. I would pull more cards. I
We
would
need to
kind
know
of get a sense.
after that, or
Yes, yes. It's really because that's actually the big difference between and maybe we will talk about it. AI, AI can do readings for you, but what AI doesn't have is emotions or intuition.
yeah,
And so that's why you have a reader that can actually feel the energies and
yeah,
tell you, okay, I'm seeing the card, but really I see this.
yeah. And are there any cards that are always negative? Like, how about the devil card? Is that
The devil card, of course, has some sort of negative that comes through right away. Um, but you could stretch a little bit the meaning. Like if you look in the devil card, there's an attachment, right? There's an attachment. It's a bind. Um, it's it could be someone who's really really passionate about something. So maybe someone
Be overly
who
passionate.
has a bit of an addiction, but maybe it could be a, I don't want to say a positive addiction, but for example, maybe someone who's really really passionate about their work and they're
Yeah,
very attached to their work, and maybe at a particular time that's okay. So he would be an examples.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Uh, I thought that the tarot cards were actually French, but they originated in Italy
Right.
in like the
and
hundreds or something like that.
and there's also, I think, in the tarot there's some origins that can be traced back to Egypt.
Yeah. Now, in fact, maybe I should show some images too. But I know you have your own card deck, um, and it's different than a tarot deck. But obviously, the artwork is different. Everything. So, like, if you say you bought some cards uh, on Amazon, and it was like somebody's angel cards, or how is it when you're used to reading one type of deck, how is it going to a different one? And because it's, I don't know, it just seems like it would be confusing.
Hmm.
It's like, how do you
Well,
know that's the tower card? Or I guess it's pretty obvious from the imagery, but
so a tarot deck usually, no matter what the artwork is, has the structure with
yeah,
78 cards organized a certain way. Now the imagery is different, and I mean, I feel like the imagery has to create a connection between you and the cards that resonates with you, and that connection between that you develop with the card is what's going to allow you to read. So when you buy a deck, I feel like this is your very first deck. It would be make sense like it's like the most traditional one, like the Rider Waite.
yes,
But otherwise, you can get any deck you want. You can, as long as you connect with the cards and you understand their meaning. Some decks really are a bit extreme in the way that they move away from traditional meanings, but I think there's also an aspect of creativity and art.
mm,
So a card is nothing more than a window for you to open and connect with messages. So as long as it works at the end of the day, Renee.
that's it. That's it. We don't know how it works, but it works.
And you can
And
tell,
it's
like you
so,
shuffle a deck and you can say, I connect with it, I don't connect with it. You can really do that.
yeah,
Yes.
I know I actually have your cards here. Oh, tell me about this one. This is something new. I don't know what this is.
Yes, this is an Oracle deck, so this is not Tarot. I actually can show it on the screen as well, like as
Oh,
it
good.
is.
It's beautiful. Oh, yes.
Yes, and I will show you. So I just developed this is not for sale yet, but this is gonna be for sale, and it's an Oracle deck that connects with the whales. Um, and you basically have 40 cards. They all have a message, and I show you a couple of them. Um, so they have a keyword. So for example, this one says alignment.
Oh,
This one says friends. This one says light. But they have a themes of the whale. I was on an inspiration about whales, um,
oh,
reflection, and so on and so forth. And so an oracle deck is more free than tarot. There's no rules,
right.
so you can do whatever you want, really completely free. And so I started to work. I mean, it takes about a year from the concept of it, which was at that time, that was more than a year ago, really connected to the whales. I'm still but very deep. And then working with an artist. Obviously, I'm not an artist. I could barely draw. And you work with them to design the cards, and then you create them, and they will serve a different purpose because they're more. I wouldn't use them for like current events or political readings, but I would use them for personal readings or more psychological reading, like what do I need to do now for my well-being, that sort of thing.
Right.
So this is going to be on sale this month, and it's called Voices of the Whales.
Oh,
Yep.
it's going to be this month.
Yes, I am finalizing the product.
Great. And then what about mystical
Tarot of the
tarot
Saints.
saints?
Yes, so there is a
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh,
set
wait a minute. I want to
like
show
this.
this first.
Yeah, those are the cards.
We're going to
So
graduate to the next one.
yes, so those are like the standalone cards, 78 cards a tarot, and then there's a set, kind of a big set where there's an altar cloth. That's kind of the next picture. There's the book. There's cards, like postcards or quality cards, like art cards, and then there's it's a limited edition. The envelope has my signature, a number on it from 0 to 100, and then there's a
Oh,
box. Yes.
it's beautiful.
hmm
It really is.
So you can either get just the deck, that's like about $30, or the set, which is like about 90 something dollars. Yeah.
Great. That is great. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Now
Thank you.
those would you um those are tarot cards.
Those are tarot, so they follow the 78
And the
card structure with
there's a
the
tower,
four
there's a
elements. Yep, yep,
yeah,
exactly. What I've done though is, because this is a tarot of the saints, I connected the saints with the traditional element of the card. So, for example, the high priestess, of course, you knew I would take this example, is Mary Magdalene. So
great.
that makes a lot of sense, and that's actually, she is the icon for this deck. You know,
Well, I'm
she is
hoping
the
that we're
icon.
able to have some in our center.
Yes,
People
yes.
can pick up that way too, but that won't be for a little while. So how do people get them right now?
You can. I mean, the mystical tarot of the saints can be found. The deck can be found on Amazon, Etsy, eBay, so kind of everywhere. The set is only found on Etsy,
On Etsy?
and those cards will come on Etsy, but on a Kickstarter, as a Kickstarter project this month in July.
Great.
Yes.
That sounds really great. Oh, so this month.
Yeah, I'm actually finalizing the production of it, so you know how it goes.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
um,
There will be last minute glitches. You can always bet.
and it comes with a book that I don't have yet, but it's written. It's almost 200 pages book that goes with this.
Yeah.
So you can see I'm in between readings and YouTube. I am quite busy.
Yeah. What what do you prefer, or do you have a preference for either? Oh, you were talking about scrying. For people that may not know, scrying is like looking into a mirror or possibly water
Yep.
and seeing images. Um, I've done that a couple times many years ago, and I actually did see things. It was kind of freaky. But can you explain how that works? And do you look in there and see things in the mirror, or do you
Yeah.
think them?
So for me, I have a technique that I use a bowl. I fill it up with it's the I fill it up with black water. You know, there's a certain kind of water that's black. It's drinkable, but it's
Oh,
black, It's called actually black if you look for it on the internet. Or and I fill up the bowl with black water, so it's totally dark.
Yeah.
And I have some silver ink. So I think of a question, I drop some ink, and the ink will then starts to take shape. And
Wow.
then I would, as you kind of meditate and watch the movement, then your intuition slash imagination, the connection with spirit, will guide you to the answer.
Wow. Is that sort of the same with tea leaves that
Yes.
you just look at them and they're sort of there's some shapes there and it's almost
Yes.
like a Rorschach test. It's like what does this
Yes.
look like to you? Uh,
Yes, with tea, with coffee grounds. I have a little story about coffee because I mean the culture of coffee coffee grounds divination is very predominant from Turkey, the country of Turkey.
oh yeah, I
And
imagine.
so a couple years ago, this was my first ever trip to Turkey. And I said, well, I need to read myself my cup. And so I was at a cafe. It was beautiful. It was actually in Bodrum, which is like a seaside town. And
Mm.
so I was at the cafe. It was very relaxing. I ordered a Turkish coffee, and I did my own first time reading in Turkey with the coffee ground. And I still have the photo. When I flipped the cup, there was very clear, like it was nothing left to the imagination. What looked like a witch with the broom and everything. And it is a symbol of being psychic, the
Wow.
intuition. This
Yeah.
is, and so it was just like a spot on, and it was like super clear. Like you
Yeah.
could show this, and everyone say, "Yeah,
You
I
didn't
see a
have to
witch."
really use your imagination. You could
No, I was
recognize it.
shocked with all the details, that all the grounds left perfectly.
You took a picture of it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'll have to see it sometime.
Yes, yes, I'll send
That
it to
is
you.
so cool.
It is, I was like, this is one of the coolest thing when I discuss. I don't know who I was talking recently, but that was a psychic, and we were talking about kind of what it's like, and I think something that we agreed is like, even though we know, we're still shocked by those things. Even though, yes, it's normal, we actually, this is something we practice, but
Yeah.
just having the validation, and it's something that I actually happened in my life where you always, I think in any kind of work that you do, you always have those phases of doubts, imposter syndrome and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And so, but I've always noticed in the big phases of time where I doubted myself, something massive would come that validates, massive, massive,
Wow.
like supernatural massive, that would just tell you, okay, stop doubting.
That is amazing. Now, when did you first like pick up the cards?
So before I pick up the card, I was getting messages at 8 or 9 years old.
And what kind
So,
of things, what kind of messages were you getting? Things about
mhm.
like grandma's gonna die
Well,
or
exactly that. You must be exactly that. So I would exactly. You're spot on. Your
oh my
intuition is.
god. That's
I was at my grandmother. I mean, exactly, and she was in perfect health. I mean, perfect. She was in good health. And when it was time to say goodbye, I went to hug her, and I heard a voice, but like clear. Hug her real, real tight. It's the last time. And the next day, the police came. I was living with my parents as a child, and she had a car accident, and she was gone.
oh my goodness. That is so oh
It was very, I remember all those different feelings, the sadness, but also I was too scared to tell someone I knew it. Because I felt like if I tell, well, I knew it, like, why
you'll
you
make
didn't
it happen.
tell, why
Yeah,
you didn't tell anyone, but it wouldn't have helped anyone.
true.
It was like you hear the message like I was not in panic because it was clear to me that it was fate. There was nothing we could do. Nothing. It was
And it
supposed to
was a
happen
message just for
for
you,
you.
because it was you that was there, and they gave you that advice, hug her very tight. Oh my,
And then after that, I started to read the playing cards because we had playing cards at home as a child, as children. And so I was using the cards, but my parents thought I was playing with them, but no, I was reading them.
wow.
And they were saying, stop, don't say silly things, and then things would happen.
So when you would say something, did they try to say discourage you, or were they behind the idea all the way?
They didn't really, with my parents, they didn't really care too much about divination.
Right.
I have memories of my dad seeing a card reader, but other than that, I don't think it was well accepted. It was a Catholic background,
Okay.
and my other grandmother was like, "Oh, never talk to me about this. Like this is evil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is evil. Don't touch that. You're gonna be in trouble."
Yeah.
And so, but my mom has a lot of intuition. So you know, we all do.
Yeah. I agree with that very
We all
much.
do. That's why when I hear people say, "Oh, thank you for your gift," I hear that a lot, and
Mhm.
that somewhat makes me feel uncomfortable because I think it's not a gift. I think it's something that is more developed in me that can be on another person, but I feel we all have that ability.
Right.
Um, we can all draw, but some draw better than others. It's the same thing to me.
Right.
And so I think it's also what I found in this field is that how do you get better is practice. It's like it's hard work and practice.
Yeah.
I have done in the last 5 years 20,000 readings.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like going to the gym and a workout. You just keep working that muscle.
And then I would imagine you talk to people about all kinds of things,
Yes.
but I would imagine that most of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's someone is having an issue with something. Someone has got a problem and they want to know how it's going to be solved, or if they can solve it, or are things going to get better, that sort of thing. And is there like one thing that you hear most from people? I know that I believe that this is true, that several years ago, people that would read would say their biggest question was, am I going to find my soulmate? And I somehow feel like today that's not probably the number one question. Uh, it's more like, am I going to be okay? Is the world
Ye-
going to settle down? And
So
things.
things are the types of questions are changing depending on the current times. Um, I would say still the main questions are love related. I love someone and it's not quite right, like either the person's not available or not reciprocating, or there's like some sort of issues with their love story. Um, that's a big one. Uh, but unfortunately, since we're in this economy, global economy, lots of questions about finances and money and jobs. Right now, this is like very, very much. Um, Also, um, I'm a bit disturbed by the younger generations, like 20, 25 years old, up to 30 years old. You wouldn't be very surprised that a lot of the questions they ask is about social media.
About social media. Like what? What?
It is so it's like usually a love question related to someone, but it really turns into a social media question. I liked his post, but he didn't like my post.
Oh,
I He liked me on Facebook, but didn't like me on Instagram.
oh,
I've He deleted me from Snapchat, and and I'm not really a social media user, so I had to
my
learn a
God.
lot.
I feel like I have
So
to now.
so it's sad. It is really sad, Renee, because I see through my readings the damage social media is doing on people, and there's been a shift that rather than asking about their lives, they're asking about their social media lives.
Right. Oh goodness, that's really sad. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of glad I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah,
I think, I mean, it was probably more boring times, but it didn't feel like it,
no,
and you definitely got together with people and in person. And that was the thing to do is, go see your friends or have them come see you. You always wanted to be with your friends. And now it's not quite that way. Uh, I've got 3 25-year-olds in the house. One of them belongs to me. The other two I picked up along the way. But they are very big into social media, and some more than others. And but I think they're fairly well balanced. There's one that's
good.
kind of too much into it, but the other two seem to balance out, real life and and online stuff. But I can see how that could be a real problem, especially for really young people who have grown up with that and nothing else. It's they're
Yeah, and also as a psychic, I see the challenges that online dating has created, because
yes,
in one way it makes meeting someone very
sure,
easy, but it gives people obviously a lot of option and choices, too many possibly. And
yeah,
so I call it a little bit the candy store where, oh, I can be with this person, I can be with this person, I can be with this person. And at the end, I'm not seeing a lot of happy people. Yes, they have choices, but they kind of come at the end of all this exhausted from online dating.
alone probably.
Yes. And so I see these just from the lens of a psychic. I'm not, but we do a lot of psychology and sociology to this job.
Yep. Well, it's very easy for someone to put their best foot forward and their best image online and sustain it for a while, but it's if you don't meet them in person and get to know them that way first, then they could be completely different than they're coming across online. I mean, it could even be a different person, but let's say it is a person that's representing themselves. It's, of course, they're going to pick the very best photograph. Of course, they're going to be on their best behavior, but you don't have that luxury of being in someone's presence and the luxury of time to get to know someone
Yes,
before you leap. But yeah, I feel bad for young people. I feel like it's much harder.
it is harder, even though the internet has given more options. It's a
More
paradox.
convenience.
Like we never communicated that much as we do now, and yet we don't really talk to each other, and yet
Right.
we communicate so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a paradox.
It is. It really is. I know that, for the longest time, uh, none of my kids would ever talk on the phone. Just text, 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 text. And I would say, and then I'd say, did you find out what time we're supposed to be there? Well, I sent them a text. They haven't answered. Pick up the phone
Fun.
and call. It's instant. It's amazing. But they would go, I don't want to call. It's like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I think it's really difficult for young people. And I wonder, now I get this sense that young people don't have the best outlook on the future generally. And that they think that a lot of them now think that a degree means nothing, that it's not the same as it used to be, that, if you had a degree, you could do well. And it just seems like there's not a lot of hope, for the future. It's sort of like we got to live for the moment.
Yes.
Who knows what's going to happen next or, in
Mhm.
10 years. So do you find that in young people that there's sort of a fatalistic idea? Like,
Well,
it doesn't matter anyway,
I feel like it's true that they're more in the moment because the way the world is, primarily, if you really look at climate change, we're told that maybe in 30 years we're doomed. So I feel like if I was hearing that today, I would think about what people do. They don't buy a place, they rent because I rather use my money to
Yes.
enjoy it. So the mentality has changed, and so through readings, their questions have changed. They're they're not really asking long-term questions.
Yeah. Speaking of the climate, uh, I hear it's quite hot over there where you are. I've been hearing
Yes,
all my friends
yes,
complaining about the heat. The
it is hot. It's been
plus
hot.
40 degrees. I'm going like, oh my gosh, it's just too hot to do anything outdoors.
It's been it's been really getting more and more every single year. I
Yeah,
think Europe is impacted by climate change very much more than other continents.
yeah,
Um,
I think you might be
the
right.
and the rains, when it rains, it's pretty intense.
I'm right
So
by those rivers too. I might float away.
yes.
But yeah, I've noticed they've been having extreme heat, year by year in France. I keep an eye on stuff. They had a lot of droughts. Then they'll have the floods. It's like when it
A
rains, it
cycle.
pours, but you know, it's usually just hot and I started to say hot and dry, but it's hot and humid.
Yeah.
Which that's what gets me when I'm there because I'm in California. Although it does get really hot here
Yeah.
sometimes, um, it, we don't really have that humidity situation going on.
No.
It's more of a desert climate, so it's more dry. And when I go, I know to France, usually the first 2 or 3 nights, I just perspire in my sleep because of the humidity, and I just feel sticky when I wake up in the morning. And somehow, I guess my body adjusts to it because after a couple of days, then I'm fine. But yes, we do have, and I don't understand this denial of the climate change. I mean, I guess I do from certain people because there are people, of course, that want to see, fossil fuel business continue to thrive. Um, but it's so obvious. Anybody that's been on the earth for more than 20 years knows it's getting hotter every time. I mean, I've had, the thermometer on my patio here, we do Fahrenheit here, and I don't know
Hmm.
what it would be in centigrade, but it's it was 112 one day, and I thought that's just I could cook in that, I guess.
The other things that is also visible as kind of a proof of climate change is, have you noticed, or you will notice if you do long flights? So let's say you fly from the US to France, for
Yeah,
example. it takes a certain amount of time to
Mhm.
go this way. When you go the other way, there could be 2 or 3 hours difference now.
Yes.
It was not like that before.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, it was not. It's actually expanding, and it's a reflection of the wind and the
Yeah,
climate and
it's the,
everything.
they call it the stream, the uh,
Yeah, the jet streams.
jet stream.
And so that's also another aspect where, I mean, like now they're like 2 hours such difference. It's just great.
Yeah,
It's the same distance.
yeah, it's 11 over and 13 back, I think. Or I
Yeah.
can't remember which one is against the jet stream.
Yes.
I think it's coming back as longer, but
So, and it was not, I mean, before you maybe have an hour maximum, but
yeah,
now it's over 2 hours
yes, that is true. It is longer, it seems. But yeah, oh
and
my goodness.
shorter on the way. So that's like another sign.
Yeah,
And the animals, we've lost a lot of animals, like variety of animals in the ecosystem. I
yeah.
think like I've read like maybe 70% of the insects type.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know that there was a big problem with the lack of bees, and bees are
Yes.
really necessary. And I don't know if they've sort of boosted the bee population, or they were working on it, but I don't know how that's going. But anyhow, I do
we we did a little side tour in our
exactly
conversation.
do the beehive. Uh, now let's, if you don't mind, I mean,
Mhm.
it's apparent that, that in the United States we have a very, very divided population, and it just seems like there's nothing, butting heads, and we're talking at each other, not to each other. And of course, both sides feel that they're right.
Mhm.
We
Of
know
course.
who's right, but anyway. But um, do you see any coming together of people? Honestly, I thought possibly with the reaction of most people to this big, beautiful bill that they're passing, uh, everybody's got a problem with something in it. It seems like, and I wonder whether having that common issue is going to sort of bring the population together, because I mean, I just feel like people should realize, we're all in it together, and it's really not us against each other. It's kind of us against them, and we got to
Mhm.
look out for ourselves and for each other. Do you ever see that happening again? That, in America, that people will appreciate each other again? And
Yeah, I feel like things are gonna be more peaceful. I think the biggest issue, really, when you discuss us versus them and the two camps and the two sides fighting, what is really sad, and I think everyone would agree on each, something that everyone would agree, that it has broken families, it has
families,
divided friendships, it has created situations in the workplace, it has damaged a lot of families. And so there's a realization that it's really bad. Like people who don't talk to their brother and sisters
yeah,
because of this.
yeah,
And I think that to me is the one thing that will bring people together, because it's just doesn't feel right that politics will separate us within our own families. And we've
exactly.
never seen this before.
Friends that have been friends for years, don't speak to each other
Each
anymore.
other.
It's really sad and unbelievable. Uh, will we start listening to each other again? Because I feel like we're just talking
I feel,
at each other.
I feel that, not in the next few years. We need to pass kind of like 1 or 2 cycle, maybe generational cycles.
Oh, I won't be able
Um,
to enjoy it then.
yeah, I and also I think what brings people together is when people, we just talked about it, climate change. When your house is on fire, it doesn't really matter If you're
That's
Democrat
right.
or Republican, your house is on fire. That
That's right.
just, I mean, yes,
People are going to come and put it out.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true that in extreme circumstances, people do come together. Like, I don't even, oh, I guess it was Ronald Reagan, that was talking about, what would happen if extraterrestrials,
Yes.
came, then suddenly we would all forget about our differences, and we wouldn't say, oh, that person is from that race or that race or that culture. It wouldn't matter. We're all humans, and these guys, we're not sure what they are. So suddenly, the guy that you couldn't stand is, the guy that you're leaning on because you're fellow humans. But
But I mean, unfortunately, that hasn't been enough because there's been UFOs and ETs
right,
and so that hasn't really, of course, not in the mainstream kind of way,
right.
but there's enough evidence. I mean, that has been actually agreed by, the government, the Pentagon, the FBI, that there's been,
There's
UFO
something.
activities, and so that's not even for debate anymore.
No. And it's hard for me to even believe that because for so long they've just made a joke out of it,
Hmm.
and that's really bad, because there are people that had experiences or sightings or whatever, and they're just getting basically laughed at or called a liar, and now suddenly those same people that were say, no, it's not true, and laughing at you are saying, well, yeah, maybe it is true. I guess it
Yeah.
is. We couldn't tell you before, but so it's I would imagine that would be very frustrating. I spent a lot of time researching UFOs, and I was the managing editor of UFO magazine for 5 years, and did a show exclusively on UFOs. And during the time which was mostly during the '90s, uh, you wouldn't get blip out of the government,
No.
uh, or NASA, which is of course connected to the government.
Yes.
But we would try so hard to get any tidbit of real information so that it wasn't just accounts of sightings. We actually had some science or some evidence from the government to back it up, but we couldn't get anything out of them. Now, what do you think is going on with these extraterrestrials or whatever they are?
I feel like they're very concerned. I
So
feel they're
you
very
feel like,
concerned to see the situation on Earth, politically, but also with what we discussed with global warming, because the Earth is in danger,
right?
and to some degree, I think it impacts them. So I think I mean, of course, we don't have any proof of that, but they're probably no longer just visiting, but they're intervening, like trying to avoid situations on our
Right.
behalf.
And how do you see them intervening? Do you think, like, I know that there have been occasions where there have been UFO activity, and then like the nuclear weapons were shut down.
Hmm.
They, they didn't know what was wrong, but it just so happened there was a
Yes.
UFO outside when it happened. I know and I'm wondering, when will they intervene? What's going to have to happen? I mean, we just, you know, been bombing the heck out of people, as
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people are bombing the heck out of other people, and like Ukraine, the Middle East,
They could probably intercept missiles,
maybe they have.
and maybe they have already. Exactly. They probably have.
Yeah.
And it's probably documented and we don't know about it, but they can. I connect to that energy feeling that they can intervene and they are intervening. Um,
What about negative forces out there. I mean, I would imagine there's not just one group. There's probably all kinds of groups from different places. So, are there negative groups that don't have our best interests at heart?
I haven't really come across that, but there are obviously bad people out there,
Sure.
obviously. Um, so, but I don't see that as a group. I see that as individuals that can form a group, but it is, to
Like not
me,
a whole race
yes, yes, I
of bad
think like
guys. Yeah.
no. Um,
Do you
I
see
really,
them presenting themselves more publicly?
the UFOs or the ETs
Yeah,
or
the ETs that are on board the UFOs, do you see them ever actually
yes,
revealing
yes,
themselves?
yes.
And how do you see that occurring? Do you think they would reveal themselves to world leaders or just regular people?
I feel more regular people
And what would be the purpose in that? Just to reassure or,
make contact,
yeah,
show their presence, um, kind of introduce themselves in a certain way.
yeah,
Um, it is, I feel like they have already. I mean, a lot of people have connected with ETs, and it's not something that I do, but I mean, in the psychic world, a lot of people just channel them and
right?
get their
Yeah,
information. And yeah, I I have never really done that. Not sure why. I I prefer to
your thing.
resolve everyday people's problems. That's more
Yes.
my thing.
Right.
Like I'm not, like I'm not. It's not like I don't care, but I find as fascinating helping people get and
Yes.
understand why they're not getting a job and helping them get the job.
Yeah.
That excites me.
Well,
Yes.
I'm sure that that excites your clients as well because,
Yes.
like, yeah, the world could be crashing around you, but you still have to feed your kids or, you know, pay your rent. So it's like, you know, finances and that sort of thing seem to be utmost in people's
Yes.
minds right now. And that's
And
like,
I mean, like, like I totally like it's interesting. Sometimes people apologize and they say, "Oh, given everything going on, I feel so bad about asking, but
yeah,
do you think my car is gonna last?" Well, that's a very valid question. That's
sure.
a very valid question.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's your life. There couldn't be anything more important.
Yes,
But well, do you have any thing you'd like to share? Oh, one thing is you do readings, you do private readings,
I do.
and you do remote readings so that
Yeah,
anyone, anywhere can avail themselves of your services. And I believe I have the correct link here
link. Yes.
to book an appointment, and it is https://linktr.ee/the third wish. And Nate's show on YouTube is The Third Wish. I watch it all the time. I would suggest you do the same. And he's kind of new, but growing fast. Don't you agree?
I know. I started in January this YouTube channel.
What?
Um, I started in January, and
This year?
yeah, I have 18,000 subscribers, so I am really shocked how quickly things
I'm
went.
going to start
Um,
putting cards.
um, on the link that you shared, you actually people can access. I also have classes. People can download the class and learn tarot, I have all kinds of downloadable classes
On
on
this
that
same
link,
link, they find
on the
those.
same link, and they can also book live readings, which would be like like this, like on Zoom or on the phone. I even do 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour appointments. The 15 minutes because sometimes people have one quick question and
Yeah,
they just want to spend, a small amount of money for
yeah.
that question, and it's fair. Um, and I also do a service that people like a lot. It's a 3 questions video reading. So you you pay the fee and you can email me 3 questions and I respond with a video with my readings on the three
Oh,
questions. So there's no appointment to be made. It's just like
yeah.
that.
You just send in your questions.
Yes.
And neither one of you have to take a particular time out. You can
Yes.
do it at
Yes.
your leisure. Sounds like a
Because
good.
otherwise you have to find time zones on the line and people are just they rather send their questions and they get me doing the reading live but on a video. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, gosh, it has been great. The hour's gone by really fast. We got to do it again. Maybe we'll think of a good theme and get more into. I can talk you into doing the cards, and
Yes, yes, I would love. I don't
I'd
know.
love to see you scry. That would be.
Oh, I can do that live. Yes, I can do
There's
that live.
a scryer on YouTube. Uh, his channel is Scrying Out Loud. Have you seen him?
No, I like
Oh,
the
you
name
should
though.
check him out. His name is Trevor, I believe, but his
Okay.
his YouTube channel is Scrying Out Loud, and he's pretty good. So check him out. But there's so many talented people out there. It's really,
So many. It's just fascinating
and
and
it's like
amazing.
a lot of times they're saying the same thing, so that gives it a little bit more credibility there. If everybody's saying the same thing, maybe
Yeah.
something's up. All right, Nathe.
Thank you for having me, Renee.
Thank you. I will see you in October, if not before,
Yes, live in person.
live in person. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you'll be back next week for another new edition of Night Vision. Thanks so much.
Thank you.